Hi, I'm Georgia Patton and welcome to Board to Boss, the podcast where we dive into real, unfiltered stories behind building a business. I'm not an expert or a self-proclaimed business guru, I'm just like you. I'm here to listen, learn and soak up the experience and knowledge of others in the hope of bettering myself and my business. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Board George, the go-to designer sunglasses brand from New Zealand, crafting premium polarized sunnies. Today, I am so excited to have Rachael Wilde coming in. Well, not even coming into the studio. It's our first ever online podcast since moving away from the radio station. She is a founder of a disruptive Australian beauty brand called TBH Skincare, which is approaching skincare in a holistic manner with some tech behind it, which I'm so excited to get into. And recently they've launched Bouf Haircare, which has definitely made a splash in the industry. I think that's to say the least. It's been so much fun watching this roll out. So welcome, Rachael. How have you been?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I've been well, busy but well.
So busy. You have been up and down flying flights around like Australia
all over
at the
the
moment,
place.
basically
yes.
being on every podcast you can.
Yes. No, I know I'm getting used to all the podcasts, but I love it because I love to chat. So this is me in my happy place.
But isn't it overwhelming just doing like day trips to podcasts?
Yes. The day flights, like where you literally are in another state just for a couple hours, definitely like they creep up on you. They really are quite relentless.
Okay, so if you can give a really quick overview, because most people will know your story already, but
Yes.
just a quick overview of how you fell into TBH, came upon the tech and kind of became a founder.
Yeah. I call myself a bit of an accidental like business owner entrepreneur because that wasn't really a path that I had planned for myself or really sought out, I would say. I studied marketing at uni. That's my background. I love marketing and brand building more so in like a traditional sense. I always thought like the goal and dream for me was to go and build like a big ad campaign, you know,
Really?
for the likes of the Super Bowl or like that was what I wanted to do. I would call myself like quite a corporate girly. Like I wasn't afraid of getting into the corporate scene early on. I was, just eager to start my career after uni, but I actually ended up in the medical devices industry, which wasn't, again,
like
really
a 180.
planned. Yeah. Like it was a very, clinical, not sexy industry, but the job came up and I was actually the first ever social media hire into this business. And I kind of loved the challenge that brought in terms of, going into a highly regulated industry that is not all that familiar with social media. And so, I just jumped at that, took that job straight out of uni and off I went, basically in a very corporate job. And then I climbed sort of the ladder, you could say, corporate wise in that company, sort of progressed quite quickly through a growing digital marketing team. And I ended up probably sitting in quite a commercial role where I understood how the business was working, how they were making money, who they needed to influence to make money.
It's like your first intro to business.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was great exposure, and that is what has led to TBH, which is kind of funny. So at the same time, I was, a big beauty consumer. In my everyday, loved makeup. Like I'm a makeup artist. I'd done like a, sort of small degree in that. Yeah. I had always struggled with my skin in particular. So I'd suffered with acne for a very long time, been through all the traditional treatment pathways, really suffered through that process. And then all of this came into sort of one neat place when I discovered that one of the medical research and development companies that was supplying in essentially infection prevention, wound care products they had developed. They had developed this tech that was really effective in that space. They'd had 50 global patents created to protect this IP and then realized that the same fundamentals could be used in skincare to actually tackle the bacteria to do with acne. And so I came across that and thought, well, that's pretty cool. And obviously had a really selfish interest in like what that product was doing. And so just started asking more questions. And I think asking questions was something that I had learned through that first part of my career of like you know, if you can ask the right questions, you can sort of like figure out anything and how everything's done. And so that was what led me to discovering that, hey, I could potentially go and pitch for the licensing rights to this tech and create a brand and bring it to market. And I'm the customer, and I know this category because I've been a consumer of it for so long. And I was really passionate about bringing something different to the acne space because I was so frustrated with what was on offer. At the same time, like the treatment pathways were difficult. They were expensive. You weren't really treated with that much empathy or care through the process, even though what you were experiencing was like a pretty major thing to go through. I was watching all these fun skincare brands sort of just start to break into the market. And I wanted to take that consumer lens to an acne brand that had a really sick product that was, you know, incredible, created by experts, patented globally, but then bring that consumer lens to actually connect it to the customer problem. Yeah, that's how TBH was started.
And you being so young, not having any experience founding a business, like that's a massive thing for a tech company to be like, hey, we've got this girl that's coming, she's super keen, let's put all our eggs in one basket pretty much. Like, how did they have the confidence in you? Do you reckon it's your pitching? Do you reckon it's your mannerisms? Did you come in full force with all of your pitch deck ready to go?
Yeah, I did. I worked on a pitch deck for about 2 weeks, you know, after hours at work. And I think it was just because I became obsessed with
As you do.
This tech. Yeah. And so I was, you know, very passionate about it. And yeah, honestly, I can't even tell you why they were like, yes, but this also, I could see that for them, this wasn't their main product focus. They had a huge business in the hospital and healthcare space, and this wasn't their wheelhouse. So I think I saw that as an opportunity of, you know, well, maybe I could do it because I know the customer. And I convinced my mum to go into business with me as well, who's an accountant. So she's an accountant by trade, financial analyst, incredible with numbers. So it was also helpful that I walked into the room with her.
So helpful.
And she had done all the startup modeling, you know, was very much the brains behind how we were going to operate it and finance it. And, you know, then I was there saying, this is how we're going to sell it and reach the customers and brand it and connect it, you know, with the people in the category who are shopping for this type of a product. And those two skill sets combined really well. So I think it was just that like blind enthusiasm though and naivety.
It's the naivety in business though that gets you places though. They're
100%.
Like, I can do this without knowing what the repercussions are.
100%. And I see, like when I meet young founders as well, I love that. Like, I think there's something super powerful in it, and I see so much like great talent coming through. And I think I think your young founders are really successful. People love that type of naivety and like blind ambition and all the energy in the world to basically conquer any problem that comes along.
If you know too much, you're not going to take the risk, right? Like,
correct.
Your calculated risk is too calculated. Whereas if you just know a little bit, you're naive enough to be like, hey, this is going to work in my favor.
Yes. And you're bold enough to like sort of take the risk, but then you need to be humble enough to know what you don't know and like teach yourself.
Balance.
But that combination, I think for like investors looking at young founders, like they're after that. They want that, you know, they want that hunger. That I think you have when you're that age and excited about something.
Totally. And you mentioned quite a few times you are your customer base. Like you legit were your customer before you even started the business. How do you reckon that's given you like an edge above all the rest of your competitors throughout launch and throughout branding and marketing?
It is probably the thing that I think led to the success in the early days with TBH. Number one, because I was a very relatable face for the customer. I could build that trust because I really understood the weight, I think, of the problem that I was dealing with firsthand. And so you can really empathize with someone properly and show up and talk to them in the way that they ideally want to be spoken to if you've lived out that same experience firsthand. And that's something that competitors don't have if they, you know, aren't working with a 23-year-old. It's, you know,
that's
been
one
through
of my,
this.
Questions was, I mean, you've pretty much just answered it. It's what are the other brands missing?
Yeah.
And it's that relatability piece. It's that person that's been through it and know that it's not just a skin problem. It's your emotional impact and it's your confidence, and that's your edge.
Yeah. And I think that we've carried it through. It's something that's really important to me. You know, now I'm probably a little bit more removed from this customer. You know, I've been, I'm 5 years on. I don't suffer with acne every single day the same way that I used to. My beauty concerns or, even the things I'm shopping for or my budgets or anything like that could have changed since then. And so it's really important to me that I am always in contact with the customer, whether that's through customer service, DMs, we run focus groups, we survey customers, because you need to know what the customers are doing, what they want, how they're shopping, how that behavior changes over time, which it changes drastically from year to year.
100%.
If you can't connect in with that, you're just going to bring to market things that actually the customers don't necessarily want.
And you can lose perspective sometimes as well.
Always.
You can get in your head and you can think that this is the best next thing. And then you meet with your customer and you go, they don't actually care about that. Their mindset is completely on something, 100% different.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to not get into the habit of, I call it believing your own bullshit, because it is so important to have those people around you that will tell you a different perspective, or have that customer insight and always be seeking that out and be curious about it. And that's where I always go back to, it sounds so simple, but how many questions are you asking? Ask insightful questions, seek out other information, seek out other points of view, because it'll always equip you to do better.
Yeah, that leads nicely into my next section, actually. Have you ever had a piece of feedback from a customer that has changed your mindset on TBH, or maybe changed direction, something that made you think, oh, we are actually going down the wrong direction?
Oh, I mean, when we were looking at, so new product development is obviously a really key area where we're always talking to customers. And I think because, and this is where I say, don't get tricked into thinking that your experience is the universal one. So I've always had really, oily skin. And so I was an oily, acne prone person. And the more I was talking to customers, the more I was uncovering a lot of them had dry skin and were quite sensitive. And I sort of dug into that quite a lot. So I was really focused on this oily, acne prone skin type. And I thought, you know what, I'm actually just going to survey the customers, which I did. And I wasn't overt in the fact that I was kind of searching for the answer to this problem. I gave them a stack of questions about their skin concerns, their routine, what they were using, all these things. But in there, I was able to capture what their number one concerns were. And it came through the survey. Number one was breakouts, which you'd expect. Number two was dry skin.
Interesting.
And I think I'd heard it once from a couple times from a customer via DMs, and then investigated that further. And that actually led to the build out of that rebound range that we have. So I was we need something that is going to be really good for sensitive dry skin, and we don't really have it end to end in the range, that specific set of products that specific customer can use. And there's actually quite a lot of them. So that's where, probably customer feedback does guide what you do and don't do, and it should.
Do you have any specific ways you like to get customer feedback for those listening? Do you do it through email? Do you do it post-purchase?
Yeah, so email, we send out surveys with incentives, whether that's discounts or whatever for people to give us their time to answer surveys. But my favorite thing to do is a focus group, and I will get about 10 to 15 people on a call or in a room. And I use Mentimeter, which is an interactive presentation survey tool.
Oh yeah.
So, cause it's hard to facilitate this open conversation. Sometimes people are quite shy, but when you can sort of make it anonymous and interactive throughout the session, they all, will sort of input words or stuff throughout the session, then they're popping up on the screen, and you can actually accumulate a massive information in this focus group and then choose to dig into specific areas that you want more information in. So I run focus groups every year with the customers, and it's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, we ran our first last year in December, but pretty much because as the girls in the office, we had 2 styles of sunnies that we wanted to release. And in our minds, we were we just can't decide. We're so 50-50. We ran this focus group, had a lovely event for the customer, and 99% picked one style.
Wow.
So
there you
we
go.
Are in our mind thinking that, it's 50-50, and I reckon we're going to come out of this focus group just as confused, and there was just a clear winner. And that was the one we launched in May, just as I met you first.
Oh, amazing.
That's now moving up to be one of our best sellers. So it's just so worth it.
It is. Don't ever that customer feedback and insight is incredible, and you can get it at a mass scale these days as well. So the other way you can source it is with AI. There's never been a faster way to crawl every single data source on the internet, genuinely. And, you can go to competitors' reviews and look at the negative things that people are saying. What do they feel like they're missing from competitors? What can you offer them instead? We can get, it's that on steroids. You can take that focus group and then sort of use those insights, drill down and go out and seek out this other data. There's just never been a better time to do it. So that's a little productivity hack. I know we'll get into that later, but that's one of them that I always use.
I spoke on an AI panel last week, and one of my biggest takeaways from it, oh my God, I don't know what I was doing on the panel. The people next to me were incredible. And they create their ideal customer in AI.
Yes.
And utilize that as their focus group. So they spend a couple of hours, creating this customer to the T, and then they talk to that AI as if it's the customer and get the feedback straight back, which it's just so simple, but you just need to hear it from someone to be like, oh my God, it's genius. How do I implement this?
Synthetic data is becoming more and more reliable. And I think you can combine everything, right? It's never all one thing or the other. I think it's just you use as many data points as you can, and AI and its capabilities with things like building customer avatars and GPT and using them later on for quick feedback it's an incredible way to be validating your ideas and your business along the way. So I think the founders that are going to upskill themselves in AI are going to get ahead quite quickly. I'm
super jealous of the people just starting out now.
Yes.
Whenever I have a young person come to me, I'm like, babe, you're sorted. You're all good. I was trolling YouTube for hours and hours back in the day. If you love bold eyewear as much as you love bold business stories, you need to check out Bored George. Our sunglasses are designed to turn heads, feel amazing, and last season after season. And because you're part of the Bored to Boss community, you get 15% off any pair of sunglasses. Just use the code BOSSPOD at checkout. That's BOSSPOD for 15% off at boredgeorge.com. Okay, let's move on to marketing and growth, my favourite.
Yes.
So TBH obviously has had its share volume of viral moments that you often credit some of your growth to. Do you reckon founders and businesses out there should still be chasing that virality? Do you reckon it's still as important?
I think it looks quite different actually these days. I mean, you're looking at a platform like TikTok where anyone can go viral overnight, which is amazing. I love that. And I always say to people, if you have no money and you are starting out, totally. TikTok is the place where I would be investing time into. But I do think that there is such thing as, having a big following or having a lot of views on TikTok. But actually having zero influence.
100%.
So I think it's not necessarily about virality, but how you react to a moment of virality. So, if something goes viral, that type of momentum doesn't come around that often. It's how you leverage it, that I think makes success out of it versus it was a fleeting moment and you don't really see anything tangible come from it. So we know now, we've seen viral moments come through a couple times in the business. So I would say that we've gotten smarter at how we leverage those moments as they've sort of come through. And now it's even in the team, it's not we don't even have to talk to know how we're going to respond.
It's just
do you know what I mean? Genuinely, it's everyone knows that there's a certain way to then operate after something like that happens, which is throw everything you had planned in the bin and run where the wind is taking you. And
it sounds like a fun day.
Yeah, it's you had all this content planned, too bad. Something's changed. How are we going to leverage it? How are we going to speak to it? And so, it's not like that. It's not about one viral moment. It's actually about the community and storytelling you can build off the back of it. But viral moments are important. It's all about how you leverage it though. And I think that viral moments can just also be like not all that important if they have nothing to do with your brand or your business. And I do love also the idea of, well, maybe you don't even have to go viral. I love the concept of a slow rise, like slow, steady moves consistently will build up probably a more loyal, engaged community base than one big viral moment. So I think people can be pretty hard on themselves trying to crack that viral moment on TikTok. But I think remaining consistent and showing up daily is actually probably like what I'm seeing more effective, you know, in terms of a strategy. Like at the moment, that's what we're aiming for, because the platforms become very crowded and those viral moments are like, they're quite common in a way. How do you actually build something meaningful and continue that relationship with people? I think that's more what it's about.
I completely agree. We haven't really had many viral moments over the times. We've been that slow and steady growth. But we did have a slightly viral Instagram reel the other day. And
amazing.
Straight away, it was, how do we utilize this to our max? Like, we've just launched in Australia. The video we created was in Australia with an Australian celebrity, I guess. And it's always the videos you don't put time and effort into. Do you find
always,
that? Oh my God. It's the one that you just like randomly take, you go, oh, let's just put this up. And in comparison to the ones where you put an hour of planning behind it, it's just always the one that works.
Always the way.
You talk a lot about holistic marketing. I've heard you talk about this on a podcast, and I could not agree more. Going through different marketing agencies and, you know, learning how to market over the years, so much is put on reporting. Especially like back-end meta. What's your opinion on a holistic marketing approach? So using all of your platforms and looking at your, you know, your AOV and your CPA and your ROAS as a whole?
Yeah, this actually comes back to my point earlier, even when it comes to AI. Like, it's not all one thing. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I think be smart enough to just know where there's nuances and like take what you can from each thing. And I treat marketing reporting in a very similar way. So there's a lot you can gain out of certain metrics on the back end of Meta. If we're going to go specific, things like frequency, click-through rates, they're more the things that I'm looking at, not a ROAS, like in the back end of Meta. So how, like, you might be spending all this money and it looks really profitable, but actually it's being served upwards of like 4 to 7 times to the same audience. Like, that's inefficient spend. Click-through rates will always indicate what creative is performing the best. Like, there's those things. So I think you got to know where to look for each data source. For us, it's also not about like putting crazy metrics or like measurement on everything. I think that can stifle creativity so quickly. And I think that is probably, if I look back, the number one thing that I struggled with in the early days of the business, because every single dollar you invest is like critical. And so you end up very like much in a rabbit hole of what's working and what's not and trying to figure it out. And I think the best thing you can do is like think more long term, give yourself more breathing room, maybe measure things on like a quarterly basis, not on a monthly, because it might take you a little longer to see that trend. I think we're much better at doing that these days now that we're bigger. Yeah. But yeah, I would look at a P&L. So profit and loss, what are you spending on marketing? What are the correlations also between those things? We always noticed that when we backed off from investing in more like above the line brand stuff on social, I'm talking like influencers and things like that, where you can't necessarily measure the direct return, what you're going to put a UTM link on. Like, you cannot I'm just a big believer in like, unless you are working with a very specific type of influencer, that's not going to measure like how effective it was. And so we would look at a P&L view and go, okay, well, how much more efficient did the spend get on Meta in terms of a return when we were running both things at one time? Yeah. From a P&L view, what percentage of revenue was spent on marketing? So that's like my golden rule is like, how efficient are we? Yeah. Are we just like at it as a percentage? But yeah, there's so many different data points that you can look at. And, you know, we have like a post-purchase survey on checkout. Where did you find us? All these ways to attribute like where people are coming from and what's working and where to lean into. But I think that if you become too obsessed with performance marketing data, I'm not that type of a marketer. Yeah. I'm like, I'm more about how the customer's consuming, where are they getting their influence and awareness of a product from, and then, how do we amplify that?
Understanding your funnel as well. Like your top of funnel doesn't always just come straight from Meta. You know, it's organic off TikTok, off Instagram.
Exactly.
It's word of mouth. You know, all of it works together and we see that drop instantly. Like if we are slacking on our Instagram with organic, we see that drop in the back end of Meta straight away. Yeah. It all works in tandem.
100%.
Okay. Bouf. Let's get on to Bouf.
Bouf. Yes.
Okay. I'm so excited by this brand. I've just been watching the rollout from the day that you first teased it on your personal TikTok, to finding the name, to all of the controversies. It has been super fun. I feel like I've taken a lot away from your launch as well.
Amazing.
How did you know that it was the right time to start a new product and not just double down on TBH? Because that must have been a really hard thought process unless you saw the tech for Bouf and you just straight away went, that's me.
Yeah, I saw the tech for Bouf. So this came across our desks. This time someone came to us with the tech and I was really interested by the problem it was solving, which was hair fall, hair growth. And I was so interested by the way it had been developed and the clinicals behind it and patents and stuff. So it piqued my interest at that moment. And then I actually tried samples of the tech and saw the most insane transformation of my own hair. And this was something that, hilariously, once again, I'm the customer. I had a deep pain point with this problem. So I tried a lot in market and had very sort of poor results, like was never that impressed by any product that I had come across and didn't like some of the sort of, I'll call it side effects, but as in like they would weigh my hair down or make me greasy or like they just, and that's why I say like you need to understand the customer, how they're going to use this. If they have thin hair, they're not going to put a thick serum like through their scalp every morning. They're just not going to do it. And so I think I once again became obsessed from a customer point of view with the product and just thought people need this. And once they see this, and what it can do, you know, it's incredible. We just need to launch it. At the same time, I'm seeing what's happening in market from a hair care perspective. I absolutely knew that hair care was going to have a moment of its own. It already was. There's so much room for innovation when it comes to hair care. And so I was sort of really interested in that. I was really interested in seeing some of the hair care products coming out and the price points associated with them. Like some of them just outrageous.
So expensive.
Yeah. So I think there was a few factors where I was going, man, this is such an opportunity. And I really, like as a customer, want this brand in market. So let's build it. And I didn't really, to be honest, I'm glad that I, once again, super naive. Yeah, I can do another brand, whatever. We'll make it work.
Everything into my life.
Yeah. Glad I didn't think too much about that because, that has been challenging, but super rewarding and I wouldn't change it for the world. And there's been things that I've learnt through Bouf that I've been able to, you know, apply to TBH and vice versa. Like it's been so much fun taking 5 years worth of fails, and learnings and then just being able to apply it from day one.
Oh, I often think, imagine if I started a business now, all of the things I could just implement from the start.
Yeah. And so it was also like a little bit of, I'm someone that I want to challenge. I want to see, like, could I do it again? Like, you know, I had that hunger in me as well about like, you know, did I get lucky? Have I actually learnt things? Like, you know, I think I wanted to prove that a little bit to myself as well, if I'm being honest. But I absolutely was led by being obsessed with the product and the problem it solved.
I think we're quite similar in that way, just like keeping ourselves busy and challenged. And the second I don't feel a challenge, I'm like, what can I throw at myself again?
Yeah, exactly.
So the name Bouf.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
So we worked with an agency actually on all of the branding, including the name, which was so funny because I had done it sort of very much in a scrappy way back in the day with TBH. And Bouf was put forward as a potential name. It actually comes from, it's inspired by bouffant, which is like a French word for it's a hairstyle, like a bouffant. Yeah, it's like big hair. And so It was like a shortened version of that. It was also meant to be an onomatopoeic expression for what happens to your hair when you use the product. So it goes Bouf. And we loved it because it was super short, sharp, snappy, like memorable. And yeah, and it was trademarkable. More importantly, there were other names that we also liked that we couldn't trademark in all of the regions that we wanted to. So yeah, lots of factors that come into picking a name, but Bouf was the one.
And there was a little bit of controversy around the name.
Yeah, there was, because it's BOOF.
Yeah.
Has a different meaning, which we did
South Africa, right?
I don't even know, but also I think Bouf in French means meat or something. And then there's like another more R-rated meaning for BOOF. Yes. And so we were like, we knew that. That's why we went with BOUF, and that was more the wording, like the writing of Buffont. And so anyway, that is how we came up with the name. But I know TikTok
took what they saw and they ran with it.
They ran with it. And also when you're launching something at this scale, by partnering with indie and sort of having that level of eyeballs and audience on it, there were always going to be a massive opinions that come your way on the name and every single other choice that you make. But we love the name. So many people love the name.
The second controversy that came was the wig controversy. You've spoken about this quite a bit. And I thought your TikTok about it was brilliant, just on your comeback. So you chose to use a wig in your first campaign. What was that choice? Like, why was that made?
Yeah, so, I mean, we used multiple wigs that were...
so fun.
Yeah, for people who may not have seen it, it was like retro-inspired, massive hair.
Kind of like Sabrina Carpenter vibes, right?
Yes, like just enormous hair. And we wanted to do that. Obviously, when we were planning the launch, we had Indy posting about her like organic journey with the products. So she had done a whole video diary over the months and months that she had trialed the products that clearly showed sort of the phases that she went through with the products and what happened to her hair. And so, we are coming from the lens of, well, that's going out on socials. That's sort of the proof point. That's her organic way of connecting with her audience. And then as a brand, one of the number one things that we saw in market was that in this category, particularly sort of in the retailers that we were going to sit in, there wasn't anyone nailing like tone of voice really well from a branding perspective. I think that we've got quite a strong skill set in-house in terms of that like copywriting, distinct brand voice, carving out that niche space in market and becoming very identifiable. And so that's what we wanted to do. And then we wanted to bring that to life with the launch campaign video. And so that was meant to be an asset that sat across the launch, across website, across retail media, across a whole bunch of places. And we wanted to lean into this retro element of, putting Indy in the home environment where she's so well known for like all of her content basically comes from the home, but at the same time she's this big public figure. So we wanted to sort of juxtapose who she is like in the home, but also the fact that she is like this incredible public figure and social media superstar sort of thing. And so we then wanted to take a vintage inspired sort of 50s shampoo commercial vibe to explain like what's going to happen to your hair when you use Bouf and how it's going to make you feel and all these other things. Pretty typical way to approach advertising. If you look across the board, food, anything, like you will find very similar tactics used in marketing. But TikTok is a very literal place. People love to be outraged by anything. And so it was taken out of context. There were people that heard the words, you used a wig to market a hair growth product, and didn't even watch the original video, didn't know anything about the brand, and sort of took that and ran with the outrage. And I think that was really interesting to watch play out in live time. I also think there was probably a group of people on the internet that were never going to buy from this launch, didn't want to buy from this launch, didn't want to support it. Yeah, they're not our customer. But I think it's quite interesting on reflection. I think there was a bit of an audience almost waiting for like a gotcha moment.
Totally.
Like,
they're always there waiting for a gotcha moment.
Yeah. And I think that was the one that they found and ran with. But we loved the video. I think the majority of our customers who were always going to be our customers really understood the vision and loved the playfulness of it and understood where we were going with it.
And it completely did its job, right? Like,
it generated awareness.
You got what you wanted out of it, plus like thousands, hundreds of thousands and more views, articles, podcasts, everything about it. No PRs. Well, no publicity is bad.
Bad PR, yeah.
I actually kind of think there is sometimes, but I think that all went in your favor.
Yeah, well, I think it's also in how you respond, right? And I think it's not like, had we not had anything else to back up the product, like maybe I would have been more concerned, but we had so much, like, 1, scientific evidence, 2, before and afters we'd already generated with other customers, 3, a whole video diary that Indy had done. Like, there was so many other things that if you went looking even slightly, the proof was there. And so you kind of just have to be comfortable with the fact that people are going to take things out of context and read whatever they want to into it. And by no means was it like some form of rage bait. I think we were like kind of shocked at the volume that we got back from, that response. But then I also go, well, there's a very loud minority on the internet, and what was actually going on in the 4 walls that we were in was very different to like what what some people may have been seeing on TikTok, which was like a lot of mocking, a lot of ridicule, a lot of criticism. But then there was like, we were smashing every goal in the building that we had set. Our customers that were coming in were really happy with their experience, whether that was how quickly the product was delivered, the price point, the packaging, and then what do you know it? 6 weeks later, they're all messaging us being like, this product's amazing. Thank you so much. And we're seeing like the repeat customer base come through. So proof's in the pudding. People can say what they want to say. I would have been more worried about it had that not been going on. And so I think you just got to focus on like, not my monkeys, not my circus. Like, you do you, and we're all good over here
as well. Like, people can say, you've got the proof, you've done the work yourself behind the scenes, and you guys were so prepared for anything that comes your way. You actually did a really fun clap back a couple of weeks ago. Did you get like a scientist into the office to look at your regrowth or to look at someone's regrowth?
No, that is our scientist. He is a permanent part of the team.
So genius.
Yeah, so someone commented, because I was showing all these baby hairs that I had in a video, and they commented saying that's just bleach breakage. And I was like, oh, is it bleach breakage? Like, part of me was like, no, surely not, because I also hadn't had my hair done recently. Anyway, and I knew that I'd been using Bouf for so long. And so I mentioned it to the scientist in the office, and I said, can you tell whether that like is or isn't? He's like, yeah, I'll get my hair microscope. Sat me down and he was like, look at this, and explained why you could tell that it wasn't breakage versus new hair. And then I just posted that on TikTok.
I loved it. I honestly loved it. We have so many comments sometimes, and we're like, fuck, we wish we could do it like a really good clapback. And that was just the perfect way to do it.
Yeah. You just got to have fun with it at the end of the day. Like, life's too short. As long as you're not offending someone, like, doing, if you're not harming someone, like, then I think you can be comfortable in like owning your stuff, taking ownership for what you need to, like whether that is if you did something wrong, but otherwise like get on with it, have fun along the way. And I think you just have to know when to stay true to yourself, stand on business and just keep going.
I'm so excited to try it. We've got some, I think, arriving to the office today. Because I am a slick back girl.
Oh, yes. And now you can do slick backs with the mask. That's how I've done mine today.
I'm so excited to try it. And then once baby arrives in a couple of months, I'm sure I'm going to get some postpartum loss.
Oh.
So I'm so excited to try it.
Yes.
When it arrives on our doorstep, we're going to be like, woohoo.
Amazing. And it's at Farmers now as well.
It is at Farmers.
Yes.
But it's not at all Farmers, because they went to Farmers and they were like, we don't have it.
No, it's rolling out into more, I believe, in like the coming months. So hopefully you'll be able to find it in a few more places then.
For those who are in Auckland, it's currently at Sylvia Park. That's where you got to go.
Hot tip.
Okay, so founder challenges are one of the biggest conversations we like to have on here, because we love that relatability piece. We're all in it together. Everyone's going through similar things. And sometimes you do feel a little bit alone, I guess, in the process, especially those who haven't quite found their founders group yet.
Yeah.
With 2 fast-growing companies that are really well known, the pace of the growth is insane. How do you manage your time and your priorities, both in business and in life? And I don't want to bring up the word like balance. I don't think balance is something that really exists in the world. You have to pick and choose where you put your time. Is there a strategy you've put in place, or is it just, let's see where the wind takes me today?
Oh, look, I think I have some strategies, but it's a never ending battle. I'm not going to lie. I think, you know, it's also just down to like what version of myself I wake up as, to be honest. Like that's so related to cycles and hormonal changes of the month. And like sometimes you just don't know what you're going to be battling with your brain that day. And so I think it's just about like accepting that, like, you know, you just got to ride those waves sometimes and know like when to refuel and like how to do that. So I've got like my things that I need to do if I am in that space, which, you know, are all the classic, like, make sure I drink enough water, like eat well, exercise, go for a walk, get in the sun, call a friend, like connect with someone outside of work. Like, I've even really struggled recently in transitioning. Like if I've ever been at work, let's say, and then I'm going to dinner or something like with friends after, it takes me, no joke, like 4 hours to like become less wired and like in a way from everything I've got going on in a day. So then I'll like have to meditate almost between like finishing work and then going to that next thing. So there's lots of like little tools and techniques that I've picked up for myself along the way. And I'm very aware of the moments that I'm at, like my sort of linchpin moments of it'll go one way or the other for the day.
Yep, completely.
So yeah, I've done that, but honestly, I think the number one thing that has helped me is the acceptance of this is a season of my life. It's not forever. I'm having so much fun. I think that helps. Like number one, I love the work. I'm enjoying myself. Yeah. Like this is not a challenge for me every day to get out of bed and do my job. Like I wake up thrilled with what I'm doing every day. But there are other elements of my life. Maybe that's how present I am for friends, how much, you know, if I'm on top of people's birthdays, can I organize gifts? Like I've been that person in my life where I'm the organizer of everything in my friendship groups and everything like that. And that has all had to give somewhat so that I'm not showing up necessarily at 100% in all places at once, but that's okay. Like my friends are very understanding. My husband's understanding. I've got a lot of supportive people around me. And ultimately I have to accept this is a season of life that I'm in. I can't have everything all at once. But I can have everything, just not all at once. That's sort of like my motto.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And in the time that you've been running these businesses, what do you reckon you've seen in yourself that has changed the most? Because I look at who I was before having a business and after. I'm not going to say I'm a completely different person, but I can lay out so many things that I never had in my personality, in my wheelhouse. Like just so much has changed and grown. Yeah. In those years. Do you reckon there's some specific things that like popped your mind?
Yeah. Number one, I am a completely different listener. Listening skills have probably been, and again, it sounds so simple, that is probably the number one thing that I'm so much better at in every single facet of my life because I've had to become really good at it with the team. But I am a much better communicator. I'm a much better listener. I can probably like seek out other people's opinions and insights much faster than what I had like otherwise been used to doing. I think because you do get beaten up a lot in business, you sort of like learn, I think you just build up a muscle of like resilience, but it's more so like of humility. Like I think I'm a much more, it's funny actually to say this, but I actually think I'm a much more humble person than when I started the business because I know now to question basically everything that I've ever known, and to be in a constant learning phase. And I know that I'm going to get it wrong every day without doubt. But the quicker I can learn from that, then the better I like move on to tomorrow. So I think that's probably been the number one thing that has changed, and it's changed me for the better. Like I am so grateful for the experience for giving me that personal development. Yeah. I also would say though that I'm a much more confident person, which is so funny because I actually feel day to day, you would say maybe I feel less confident, but I think intrinsically in my core, I'm a much more confident person. And people often ask me, because I think appear quite confident.
100%. Yeah.
People always ask me like, what do you do to like build up your confidence? And I've pondered on that question for so long. But it's actually a muscle that you need to flex, and you get confidence by doing. It's like an action. If you are taking action and doing the thing, you are failing like over and over again in tiny ways, but you're getting back up and going again. And if you're doing that and I realize that obviously that can be quite daunting. You need to do it in like tiny bite-sized chunks. Just make sure you're doing one thing a day that's pushing you ever so slightly outside of your comfort zone, because you will look back in 6 months and you won't recognize like the person, your bandwidth, your capability, like you won't even recognize the person 6 months ago to the person that you are today. And that does build up so much confidence to know like you're capable, and it only comes from doing. So I would also say that my confidence in my own capabilities and in my ability to cope actually.
That's what it is. Yeah. It's the fails.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're going to be all right with failing.
Correct.
Doing something different and then succeeding.
Yeah.
And it's constant. You'll succeed and then the next thing you'll fail again.
Correct.
And it's all of those little things that just keep coming at you that become less and less of a big deal each time they happen. Like the first time you might have a cry and have 2 days of going, why the hell am I doing this?
Exactly.
And 4 years on, something so similar happens and it's like, cool, right, we lost this.
Yeah.
Let's move on. And then you find a win in a different way. And those little things just add up as building blocks.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, I'm not the most confident person, but I definitely do come across confident to most people I meet.
Yes.
But it's that muscle. I get into a room and it's like, okay, switch.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm here to do something.
Yeah. And I honestly think that has been one of the greatest things that I've gotten out of building the business, is just that ability to practice that every day in lifetime and create an environment almost for myself where that's happening every single day.
Okay, this is one of my favorite things. This is one of our listeners' favorite things. Tell me about some of the biggest, I'm going to call them fails in quotation marks because nothing's quite a fail, but some of the biggest mishaps that have happened in the business. You look back on now and you go, how the hell did we get out of that? Like at the time I thought this was do or die. Do you have any stories like that?
I mean, I've got plenty like that. I'm trying to think of like maybe the most relatable ones. I think as a founder, you can be so in the mode of doing everything, being scrappy, being lean, but like at all costs sometimes, like even when it's actually really dumb to do that. And I think that has always been something for me, where like I think pride myself on like doing the hard work, which is actually sometimes, not the wisest thing. So an example was we had our first ever B2B order from Priceline. So our initial opening order, we were used to packing and fulfilling everything ourselves because again, it was like, but we can then like customize the orders and we can be more flexible with what the customers want if they want to change their orders last minute. And there were all these reasons that we were justifying to ourselves that like that was the best use of our time. In reality, it absolutely was not. And so when we got this B2B order through, we thought, no, we'll pack it ourselves. We're not going to pay other people to do that.
I can only imagine how big it was.
Yeah, we will barcode everything by hand ourselves with stickers because they weren't barcoded because we were only selling online. We would pack the cartons, put them on pallets, shrink wrap the pallets. Like, oh my goodness, what on earth were we doing? And we were miserable doing it because it was tough work. We had no idea what we were doing and we were stressed out of our brains. And that would have been such a simple task to execute, like to offload to someone else to, outsource.
It's that control though. You quite like liking having the control and knowing that you have control, and giving that control away sometimes can be so hard.
It is. And so we sent off our first ever PO and, sure enough, we'd sent an entire pallet without barcodes to DCs and had to try and get it back. And then we're trying to go to stores and hand out barcodes. And I was like, this just also looks bad because it looks like, we're not exactly got our stuff together with the retailer. So that was like, an example of oh my gosh, what are we doing? But there's been constant moments of like biting off more than we can chew, in terms of, taking on, we had retail channels now. So then when something like goes viral on Instagram or whatever, or TikTok, it sells out. And then you can't fulfill to retailers. You like don't know where the stock's going to come from. You're like ordering, in as much as you can. We're to air freight. We're air freight packaging all the time. That's like, sometimes we've made a call to like just spend 50 grand on like air freight to get something here. And it's like all those things where you just feel like you are so in over your head. But like I say, they're little fails along the way or big fails along the way. You take so much learning out of them. And when they happen the next time, you're like, oh, yeah, we've been here before.
All those things that you've said, we did the hand barcoding to we did that exact same thing. It was me and my fiance and my mum.
Oh no.
4 days.
Yeah.
Hand packing all the sunglasses into boxes and barcoding. So I've been there, done that. And definitely I'm still in the air freighting zone. Like my stock planning is something that I need to work on so much. And it's always like, oh my God, are we going to get this here in time? Just put on a plane.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, those things are all the time in the business, but that's what happens when you're growing as well. So it's the best problem to have. But yeah, there's so many moments along the way and then probably more in the early days, like the biggest, oh my God, what are we going to do moments was we're going to run out of money.
Oh, always.
Where the sales going to come from? How are we going to keep the lights on? How are we going to pay our rent? Like just literally anything like that. Like I would say it was 2.5 years straight of that. And so I don't want that to be lost on people listening to this. Like there were so many days where we'd just sit and cry about, could we keep the lights on? And how were we going to make it through to the next day? And should this be the time where we just pack up and quit? So, plenty of those too.
So much of that. And I think what I've learned recently is more businesses are in that situation than you think. And it's not till you start speaking to founders and business owners.
Yeah.
That during the scale period, you are in debt and you are trying to find that cash from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that feeling of like, oh, it's not just me.
Yeah, 100%. No. And I think people see the glossy, like highlight reel on social media or in media, like earned media about, I had people thinking like, I think it was early days and there was an article that came out that said we'd made $800,000 in our first year or whatever it was. And so many people were like, oh, you must be loaded.
It's not profit, hun.
It's like, no, we've lost money. Like we are burning money. That's not, and I think that's what I really struggled with in the early days and what made me feel particularly lonely was that there was an outward image that everyone had of what was going on in the business and it didn't match what was going on inside the business. And that was like really hard because I felt like, well, I didn't want to shatter the illusion, and tell people it was all awful. I actually love though that we're more in an era now where we would do that. And I do that. And when things aren't going well and it's less lonely and it provides comfort to, I think, other people as well. 100%. But yeah, it was so hard back in the day.
100%. We've had a year of it and we ummed and ahed whether in the first episode of this season, whether to be super transparent with the things that we've been through. And we recorded the first episode and we sat on it for days and questioned whether it's the right thing to put it all out there. But to be honest, like our customer respects the transparency and that's how we've built our customer base anyway. It's from showing us building the business, the highs and the lows, and what makes this low any different to the rest. Yeah,
exactly. And I think it's scary, like, obviously you sort of, especially when you're still in that moment, like I think I probably didn't have the strength at that time to weather that storm and be confident that I could get through it and publicly like share it. I think that's a lot like to ask of someone. So yeah, I think nowadays, now that there's a little bit more experience under my belt, I feel like, okay, no, I'm a bit more comfortable in sharing all the warts and all. But I think it's so important to do because if I was a founder, taking myself back 5 years and where I was, you know, in that headspace, if I'd heard someone else say it, I would have felt so much less alone. So that's why I sit here and say, don't worry, there's been all these other moments of the business early on where we were in that space, and that's normal and it's okay and you can get through it.
It's now time for special delivery, brought to you by Go Sweet Spot, the shipping platform saving businesses time, money and stress by comparing courier options, integrating with your online store and streamlining the entire delivery process. Go Sweet Spot changed the game for me at Board George. This one platform has saved me time, reduced stress, and its simplicity is unmatched, with customer service that is second to none. In this segment, we share tools and hacks you can instantly implement, and for us, Go Sweet Spot has been this hack. Okay, let's get into special delivery. What have you got for us?
Okay, so productivity hacks. My two top ones that I just swear by, and hopefully they are practical enough, but I swear by the 80-20 rule. So 20% of your actions are driving 80% of your revenue. When you are a founder in the early days and you are doing everything, focus is like so important, and knowing where to look and where to prioritize and what to drop is like, just so hard, but it is crucial to riding the right momentum and getting like the wins in the business that you want, and you won't be able to do everything. So I think it's really important to like sit down and take stock of what you are doing that's actually driving meaning versus like what you might want to do, but that's not actually going to move the needle. And so, I think 80-20 rule, 20% of what you're doing is driving 80% of the revenue. Everything else can wait. Like even if every week you go, what was the 20%? that like really mattered this week? What do I need to do more of next week? Because that focus is so key. I mean, for us, like there's so many different things even today that we could be doing with the businesses. And I say this to the team, I've got a big team. So, you know, we've got a lot of resource, but at the same time, there's so many things. And that 80-20 rule still persists. It's like, well, are we going to go opening up a whole new social media channel? Like, how much resource is that going to take? What's it going to deliver back? Like, be smart in like where you're spending your time and your energy. So 80-20 rule always.
I love that.
And then my second like hack that has really worked for us is using organic social media as like a playground for testing creative concepts and ideas, and making sure that we are taking those learnings and then amplifying them in paid. So I think a lot of people start with paid media because they're like, I want $1 in the door, so I'm going to turn on a conversion campaign. But you can get so much more efficiency by using organic channels to validate your creative strategy and what's working and what your community is going to engage with. And the minute you get that intel and that insight, you just take it and run with it. You'll find that then the creative you plug into ads will deliver like 10 times what you were trying to do before in ads. So
completely agree. And that takes way too long to learn as well. It's something that we implement now.
Yeah.
And sometimes we still forget it as well. You know, you lose your head a bit and you start chucking all sorts of content into the back end of Meta.
Yeah.
But you're so right. Your customer base is going to tell you what content they love, what content they resonate, what stuff has the most comments, what's bringing in the most follows and new followers as well. Like that's the stuff you want to put the paid media behind. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, what learnings can you then transfer across? And it just makes you more efficient day to day. And then my last one, which is more of a personal productivity hack, is that I haven't gone grocery shopping in 5 years, like physically grocery shopping.
Are you a click and collect girl or like
I'm a delivery now. I don't even bother getting in the car. I used to be a direct to boot, like click and collect. I don't know if you have this in Auckland,
we do.
But I just get delivery now, and I have so I've also used GPT to chuck in like all of the usual like dinner recipes that I make, what I like. I've got like some intolerances, like what I can eat, what I can't eat. I want, you know, to only spend this much on groceries, or I only want it to take me this long to cook dinner. This is what I feel like, all of these things. And it will spit out like a weekly, like meal meal plan or dinner, per night, and then a grocery list. And then I put that straight into, Woolworths or Coles or whatever your grocery shop is over there where you shop. And then they get delivered. And it is like a ritual every weekend. Those groceries are being delivered on a Sunday. So I am like...
Something from the AI panel is that soon you'll be able to plug in your ChatGPT, hopefully to your carts and supermarkets.
Great.
And it will just all automatically come out to you. And it's a thing I hear founders say all the time is get your groceries delivered. It'll save you time. It'll save you energy. Funnily enough, that's my one thing I do for myself. So that's my podcast time where I can't actually be on my phone or have my laptop.
Interesting.
And so that's my personal walk, I guess.
You love like going to the grocery store.
Oh, picking my fruits, picking my
I have
meats.
friends like that. And they're like, they want to pick their own produce, which is fair enough. But I get so irritated in a grocery store because I'm like,
I only go to one specific store, the one that I know has the
least. See, if I don't know my way around a store, I've moved a couple of times as well in the last 5 years. I'm not trying the new grocery store. And every time I have to run in maybe to get one thing, I'm like, oh, I remember why I absolutely despise this. So I think it's about automating, taking the decision making out of the everyday stuff because you're having to make so many decisions in the business day to day that any way you can automate your life and make easy decisions outside of that is keeps my brain happy and at peace. That's my special delivery. There was about 3 in there. Sorry.
No, I love it. Give it all to us. We can take all of these away and start implementing them as soon as I hang up on this call. Okay. So this is one that I've struggled with so many times over the years. And because I'm struggling with it, I know that a lot of other founders are probably in the same boat. You've talked about having personal mentors and coaches.
Yes.
And I want to know, has there been a time where you've followed those mentors, people with more experience, their advice, and you've kind of fallen short and thought that you should have trusted your own gut and your intuition in the first place? Because there's that second guessing in you. Oh, I don't know this. I don't know how to do this. But these guys have 20 years experience.
Yeah.
And they've got, this whole other look on my brand, but my gut's telling me not to do it, but I'll do it anyway. Because they're telling me to. Have you had experiences like that, and how do you balance experience over your own gut?
Yes. So broad answer, yes, there's been a lot of people who have given me a lot of unsolicited advice along the way, building the business. Some advice has been incredible. Other advice, less so. And I think that just comes down to, it's like data points. Like I said before, don't take anything as a whole and just accept it. I think there's insights that you can gain from lots of different perspectives, but it's about how well can you ask questions and think critically about how that applies to you. I often use an example of channel mix for one brand will be so different to another. So you might talk to a business advisor who has had, I always use this example, so sorry if you've listened to another podcast, but, you speak to another founder who's done extremely well in business, is an incredible performance marketer, and they tell you paid search is so important, but they've run a flower delivery company. Of course, people wanting flowers in Auckland, delivery in Auckland today, they're looking for it. The search is where they go. That makes sense for that customer group. That's not going to make sense in another category. So I think it's about how do you take insights and learnings, but then apply your own critical thinking lens over the top of it, which would always come back to who's the customer, how are they shopping? So don't that's my anchor point and my compass is who's my customer and what are the insights that I can pull from that, but apply with that lens. So yeah, there's been plenty of people along the way that have, a perfect example is why the hell would you spend time creating viral videos on TikTok? This is so funny because this was in the early days when we were doing it. And they're like, I don't really get it when you're like, why wouldn't you talk about your product? You need to talk about your product on social media because you're steering too far away. People don't know what you are and who, what you do.
Totally.
And that's advice that I completely ignored. But so I think you got to know along the way when to trust your gut and trust your own strategy and know that this is the customer and this is how they want to be spoken to on social media, for example, versus, then I've had mentors. I have the most amazing executive coach that consistently tells me exactly what I need to hear, and it's never what I want to hear. That has transformed the way that I've led the team, developed my own leadership and interpersonal skills and all sorts. So I think, there's such a broad mix, but also there's a lot of hot air out there. A lot of people who want to talk about doing all these things. And I always say strategy is one thing, execution's another. You can talk about doing something for days. Can you actually do it when you execute? It's like execution. I think everyone wants to work in strategy. Execution is like
a whole different ballgame.
But it's the only thing that really matters. Yeah. And I think the further you get along, almost like the more noise you get. Like, I mean, I get advice all the time from so many different places online these days. And like, I would be a mess if I tried to listen to all of that. So yeah, I think having that really strong internal compass is actually really, really important, and knowing why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, the why's the big thing. Well, I could sit here and talk to you all day, but I should probably stop hogging all of your time.
It's been so nice.
Thank you so much for doing this last minute interview. Honestly,
no, my
it means
pleasure.
the world. Everyone's going to take away so much from it.
Oh, I'm glad. No, thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Board to Boss. And to say thank you, here's a cheeky little treat just for you. Use the code BOSSPOD at boardgeorge.com for a sweet little treat. Thanks to Meg Cut and Call It for our video and audio editing, and we will catch you next time.